You ever wonder why, with all the amazing tech we have today, so many construction projects still get hit with massive delays and just completely blow their budgets? It is a huge, huge problem in the industry, and today we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I'm pretty sure the answer is not what you think it is. So let's start with a number that should honestly make everyone stop and think. A staggering 98% of all construction projects face costly delays. That's nearly every single one. And on average, they run about 37% longer than they were supposed to. So if it's happening pretty much everywhere, what's the common thread? Well, it's not what you expect.
You know, when things go wrong, it's so easy to look at the people, right? Is it bad planning? Are the subs letting you down? Is your team just not on the ball? It's a really common fear, but you know what? Most of the time, we are blaming the wrong thing entirely.
That's right. The real culprit, the thing that's actually causing all this friction, it's often the very tool that's supposed to be keeping you on track. It is not your people, it's the clumsy, disconnected tools they are forced to wrestle with every single day.
Okay, so to really get this, we need to see what's actually happening on the ground. Let's step into the shoes of a project manager for a minute and see the chaos that this disconnected data really creates.
So, this is Jen. She's smart, she's got tons of experience, she's really good at her job. She's juggling multiple projects for a mid-sized contractor, and she's doing her absolute best to keep all the plates spinning. But the system she has to use is actively working against her.
See, Jen doesn't have one system. She's got three. Her project schedules are all living in Monday.com. All the cost tracking is in this giant shared Excel spreadsheet, and she's getting real-time updates from her site supervisors through, you guessed it, WhatsApp. Does that sound at all familiar? Yeah, this kind of fragmented setup is incredibly common.
And here's where the real pain kicks in. Every single Friday, Jen loses 3 hours of her day basically becoming a human data blender. She has to pull information from those 3 separate apps and manually stitch it all together into one status report. And the worst part? By the time that report even hits her director's desk, it's already old news.
This right here is the core of the problem. A concrete pour gets delayed on a Tuesday, right? But because the schedule data and the cost data aren't talking to each other, the financial hit of that delay, like paying electricians to just stand around, it doesn't even show up until Jen's report on Friday. And by then, well, the damage is done. The money's gone.
Jen's story, it's not a one-off. This is a systemic problem, and it's not just happening in the office. It's happening out on the job site, too.
So now let's meet Mike. He's a site supervisor. He's the guy in the trenches generating the most valuable data from the field. He's dealing with snag lists, daily reports, subcontractor coordination, but his digital tools are failing him too. So, Mike's company uses one of those generic project management tools, like Asana or ClickUp. And look, those apps are fine for simple to-do lists, but construction isn't simple. A snag list item isn't just a task. It needs to be linked to a specific plot number, a drawing revision, a cost code. Generic tools can't do that, so they treat a critical, show-stopping issue with the same importance as buy more coffee for the break room. So what does Mike do? Well, he does what any good supervisor would do. He finds a way to get the job done. He creates a whole second parallel system on paper just to track the details his software can't handle. He's literally doing double the work just to make up for his tool's shortcomings. And this leaves teams stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one side, you've got your generic tools that just can't handle critical construction documents like RFIs, which are requests for information. Then on the other side, you've got industry-specific software like Procore. And sure, it gets the lingo right, but it forces you into its super rigid, one-size-fits-all workflow. Either way, your team is forced to change how they work to fit the software, not the other way around. So, if the off-the-shelf software is the problem, what's the solution? Well, this is where we need to start thinking differently about how our tools should work for us.
It's a really simple question, but it's powerful. Instead of trying to shove your team into a box that just doesn't fit, what if the software was actually built to fit your team and the way you already work?
A purpose-built system does exactly that. It starts by mapping out your actual, real-world processes. It can connect the tools you already like using, and it fills in those critical gaps between them. So for Jen, it completely automates that Friday report, giving her back 3 hours of her life. And for Mike, it just eliminates the need for that second paper system altogether.
Now, I know whenever the words custom software come up, 2 big questions pop into everyone's head immediately. How much is this going to cost, and how long is it going to take? So let's just tackle those head on. Okay,
This is the #1 concern, and it's a totally valid one. The idea of a custom build just sounds expensive, especially compared to a monthly subscription fee. But we really need to look at the long-term picture here.
Let's just do the math. For a company with 20 or more users, the annual subscription fees for a SaaS product, that software as a service, often end up costing more than a one-time custom build within just 3 years. With a custom build, you own it. It's yours. No more paying per user, per month, forever.
All right, the second major hurdle is time. Nobody can afford to just put their operations on hold for a year while some massive software project happens in the background.
But a modern, focused custom build is way faster than you might think. A system that solves these core problems, connecting scheduling, cost tracking, and field reporting, can usually be designed, built, and rolled out in just 8 to 16 weeks. It's a defined project with a finish line, not some endless endeavor.
So, with all that in mind, what can you do right now to figure out if your software is the thing that's holding you back? Here's a super simple 2-step test you can do this afternoon. First, map out your data. Make a list of every single app and spreadsheet where your project information lives. Second, count the steps. Literally, how many manual copy and paste clicks does it take to create one weekly report? Once you see that all laid out, you can ask the really honest question, is our software the real bottleneck here?
And really, that brings us to the final, most important takeaway here. The problem isn't your team, it's the tools. It's time to stop trying to force your unique, successful way of doing things into someone else's idea of how a construction project should be run.